Hey, welcome to episode 400 of the 343 podcast. Today is a doozy. We talk about the brain rot, the continual brain rot that happens to you when you listen to US soccer, when you listen to MLS and their ideas of, oh, you can't use Rondos for training and coaching and developing players. Oh, you can't play pretty at the youth level because we don't have the players to be able to do it. Or you can't play pretty in college soccer. You can't play pretty in Major League Soccer. You can't play pretty for the US men's national team under Pochettino or Klinsmann or Berhalter or you name it. It's just brain rot, more and more and more degeneration that happens to you when you pay attention to those sources. So Benny brings up a series of comments that were left on our YouTube channel, our Instagram feed, on X, et cetera, surrounding all of these topics, and we dive into them. We start off, though, by congratulating Oussama Dembele for getting the Balon d'Oro, but I have an opinion there that is in line with Arsene Wenger and so many other world-class coaches out there and world-class practitioners regarding individual awards. So I don't think you want to miss this one. I hope you enjoy. Here we go.
What are your thoughts on the Balon d'Or, Dembele taking it home? I've never asked you your opinion on the whole award thing, and
yeah,
what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think the award, generally speaking, is stupid. I think almost all soccer awards are stupid. Individual awards, that is, like individual player awards, are really dumb because it is a team sport. As much as people here in the States have always tried to say it's a player's game, it's a player's game. No, it's not a fucking player's game. It's a team fucking game. Okay, and one solo individual is not as impactful, Benny, as something like basketball. Because in basketball, it's 5 dudes on a team on the court at a time. And so you are 20% of the team and you get way more possessions, throughout the course of the game. And yet there's just way more impact ratio, if I can say that. Versus soccer, you're 1 out of 11 dudes. So you're less than 10%. If you just keep the field players, it's 10%. You're a 10% impact player with respect to that, and a lot less touches, and so much more dependent on your teammates. So I don't buy into the individual awards, and so much of it has to do with, are you lucky enough to land in a particular team with a particular coach that plays a particular style, that surrounds you with the certain type of players that you need to be surrounded with. Like, all that stuff matters as to how you're going to end up performing. Because Dembele, look, I know it's been a while since he's been on Barca, but I don't know if you remember when they played against Roma and they got eliminated from the Champions League in the second round. In the first leg of that matchup, Dembele had a 1v1 with a goalkeeper to go up I think it was an opportunity to go up 4-0 on the result. Something ridiculous like this. And he blew it. He just absolutely blew it. And I think I literally tweeted, I can probably look back in the history, that I'm like, oh, Dembele just ruined Barca's chances of advancing, even though they would have won the game 4-0. And lo and behold, they got eliminated the second time around. I didn't like Dembele on Barca. I didn't like him, dude, because he didn't fit the Barca mold. And so it just didn't function. And now with Luis Enrique at PSG, it functions. And look, I think Luis Enrique also transformed him, Ben. Transformed him to be a pressuring monster too. Monster. But he wasn't doing that at Barca. And when he was at Dortmund, there was a lot of potential there, but I didn't see it to this level. Did he deserve it this time around? I think so. Yeah, I think so. If we care about individual awards, sure. I think Wenger or Pep? At some point, they asked him the same question. Hey, what do you think about the Balon d'Oro and all that stuff? And I think it was Wenger. He's like, it's dumb. Individual awards are dumb in soccer.
This week we've seen the Ballon d'Or. Who would your 3 votes?
I would not vote any Ballon d'Or. I'm totally against it. I'm a team lover and a specialist of somebody who loves teamwork, and I'm completely against that.
And as a Frenchman,
I would not vote anybody.
During Messi's era, it makes sense because it's so clearly obvious that he actually is the best player in the world, period. There's just no discussion whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think Dembele is the player he is without Enrique, because when he went into that system, Enrique's famous for saying, like, everybody's going to play the way that I want you to play, right? When the difference was when he had Mbappe the first season or Mbappe did whatever the fuck you want. And now he's like, you know what? No, this is how I'm going to play. So I don't think Dembele shines without that style of play, you know?
Yeah,
And
man.
here's my conspiracy theory. Lamine Yamal did not win because he tried to hire midgets for his party, right?
Jesus Christ. No, but if you just look, I mean, he had a case. Lamine had a case.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. To the non-soccer eye as well, like you compare both of them and you watch the way that they play, I think Yamal makes a bigger impact, even at a younger age. I mean, the stuff that he was doing at his age, the goals that he was creating, the assists that he was having. So I don't know, dude.
No, and two things.
I thought he was going to win.
No, two things. I think Yamal is more of a complete player than Dembele. Lamine Yamal is a playmaker too. He can filter balls. He can switch the point of attack with different strokes, right? He's got so many things in his toolkit versus Dembele is more of just, don't get me wrong, insanely talented technique and all that stuff, but more raw power, I would say, is what he brings to the table. Less polyfunctional is Dembele than Yamal. And the other thing is, I don't know where Barca is without Lamine versus where is PSG without Dembele. So I think to the team, Lamine Yamal is more valuable and more impactful.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know, dude. I think at the end of the day, it's all rigged, bro. They all have.
A lot of it is
They're
there's
invented.
a lot of politics, dude.
You never know, bro. We don't have to get into that right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Into that rabbit hole. Well, anyways, Gary, I know we chatted about, going back to some parent education podcast episodes, and we will. But before we do that, I want to have another episode, Gary, of responding to people's comments, dude, because there's some comments that I read them and I just can already picture what you're going to say. And I want the audience to hear what you're going to say as well, because people are so ignorant. People are so quick to think that they know everything. And it's just so funny to me, Gary. So there's a couple comments that I picked from different reels. I recently posted a clip from one of our old episodes and we're talking about Rondos, and I mentioned to you that U.S. soccer doesn't advocate for Rondos because they're not directional and they're not game realistic, right? I thought the reel would do okay. I think I posted it maybe 2 or 3 days ago. It's already up to 25,000 views. People are debating in the comments as they usually do, but yes, there's this one guy that always gets that. You ready to get triggered, bro?
You go for it, man.
It's going to be a long night of getting triggered. I don't know if this guy's like the director of the club or whatever, but the Instagram account is DSA and NJ, which is Valencia Soccer Academy, New Jersey. Okay. He comments on a lot of our videos and he says this channel is awesome. Just 0 takes over and over again, communicated with such confidence. Rondos are for lazy coaches who do not want to set up a real session or buy equipment. Rondos are awful for youth development. Yes, directional matters. 4B2 in a vague space doesn't translate. Thank you for continuously providing content that confirms to me that the biggest pundits in youth soccer have no idea what they're talking about. I only follow this page to validate how much public opinion sucks. Hey, Gary, he called you the biggest pundit in youth soccer. Congratulations.
I don't think folks know what my history is. I think, right? I think this guy thinks I'm just like a fan who talks about the game. Number one.
I think so.
Well,
they don't do any research.
They don't do their homework at all. And I think a gentleman like that gets triggered too because, well, obviously he doesn't do rondos in this particular topic that you brought up. And so since he doesn't do rondos, he certainly doesn't want his parents or whoever he's responsible to or accountable to get the idea that you should be doing rondos. Yeah. And so he has to fight against it, Benny. And who knows, he may have gone on record for years, I'm speculating, for years about how shitty rondos are, how stupid it is, nobody should be doing it. And now if the community and the environment hops on board that rondos are the way to go, just like FC Barcelona uses Rondos religiously, just like Ajax uses Rondos religiously, just like all of Spain uses Rondos religiously, then he looks like an idiot. So he has to kind of double down and doesn't want to admit that maybe I've been wrong, the past 20 years of me coaching. I have no idea who this dude is, but I know there's that defense mechanism. My question to you, Benny, maybe you can speculate a little bit. He says that coaches who do Rondos are lazy. We'll address that in a second. And two, because they don't want to run a real session. Can you answer me or speculate, Benny? What is a real session? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, what you missed in that sentence too is run a real session or buy equipment.
Or buy equipment.
There's this whole misconception, Gary, that, you need to have freaking poles and fancy ass cones and mannequins and have this all set up. And it's funny, Gary, a parent will walk up to a field and see a session like that set up, and it could be an absolutely shocking session, but the parent will walk away feeling like, wow, look at what my son and daughter just went through. This training is amazing. My coach goes the extra mile because look at all this equipment that he's buying for the team. And, oh, look at this shooter net that I'm going to hang up on the goal. And, my son's going to MLS, bro. It's funny, bro.
So that's what you presume a real session is, like what this guy's saying?
I would speculate that's what he means. Not doing Rondos. I guarantee you he's doing some type of technical exercise, dribbling through cones, maybe some type of passing pattern that, Borussia Dortmund does. Then it's some finishing exercise and letting the kids play. That would be what I think that this guy's probably doing.
Sounds about right.
Right? I mean, what would you think?
I think that sounds about right. And
real session.
It sounds about right. He's probably wearing, the tracksuit, the nice tracksuit, looks like a real coach, looks the part, probably has like those soccer notebooks for you to like actually write in the soccer notebook, keeps his pen or pencil right here in his ear, just in case he needs to jot down some notes. Anyway, that didn't trigger me. Benny, this did not trigger me at all. Yeah, you got to come up with better ones than this.
We're just getting started, dude. But I think he also thinks too that when we talk about rondos, that the entire session consists of a 4v1 rondo or a 3v1 rondo. This guy has never gone into the course and watched an entire training session of Brian or all the different things that we're doing and how to translate the rondos. So I don't know, dude. But it's funny that you brought up the concept of Barca and how Barca does rondos. There was another guy that commented back, and these guys went on like a debate for like 10 comments for just back and forth. But basically the guy was saying like, oh, you're telling me the best youth academy in the world, like they do rondos every day and you're going to shit on it. And so this guy replied back, yes, they are in Spain. They have a very different set of prerequisites, far different than American children. He says, once again, I think it's best you save your strong opinions for a flu or a set of scrubs. Because I guess this guy was a doctor that commented, But anyways, what do you think of that, Gary? About how they have a different set of prerequisites than American children?
No, this is a classic myth that we debunked a long time ago through our actions and through Brian's work that, America is different. The U.S. is different. We don't have players who are technical enough, right, to play a certain style of play or to even train them in a certain style of play because our kids here in the U.S. suck. They have that philosophy in mind, and that's their excuse or out for not actually trying to do good work, more broadly speaking. So that's what that guy is on about there. And we proved him wrong. Brian proved him wrong, showed the entire country that not only is it possible, it's possible to do it at the highest of levels, as illustrated when he would go overseas with the team and compete like for like with the Barcelona La Masia Academy itself, right? And there's all the video evidence available on the YouTube channel. Or compete like for like with Ajax, or compete like for like with the biggest clubs in the world, plus having so many players of that original team that he led from U10 to U18 graduate to become professional soccer players. It's absolutely remarkable. Okay, so the proof is in the pudding. And then I'm going to repeat it again. We did it. Brian did it at the youth level. Caleb Porter proved it at the college level. Tata Martino proved it at the MLS level, and there were naysayers at all the different levels. Oh, you can't do this here in the United States. Nonsense. Absolutely you can. And hopefully Pochettino can come around and improve something at the national team level, although the problem is that Pochettino has only been given a short runway to the World Cup and a player pool that has been absolutely devastated and was trashed for 6 years. So the material that he has to work with is severely limited compared to, everybody else. But that's the answer, Benny. That's the answer. This guy believes that it's not possible here in the States.
Yeah. And here's the sad thing, Gary, is that unfortunately this guy probably is speaking like this because he's been successful and maybe just finding like super athletes at a young age. And maybe teams in his club have been dominant, right, without playing this style. But, I'd love to find out or see, like, has this guy ever developed a player that went pro? Or does, by the time the kids go through his entire system, his entire pipeline, are they actually better players? Are they international quality caliber players? I don't think so, right? But this guy gets in 2 to 3 superstars per team and the teams have success, and then people are going to buy into what he's saying, That's a big problem.
No, that's a good point. There's 2 extremes. There's that extreme that you just said where a coach has had success because you get the big, fast, strong man child or whatever, and you win a lot of games and you think that you know what you're doing. That's one extreme. The other extreme is that maybe you're in a rural area or where soccer is not very popular. You don't have that many players who actually are soccer players, and the player pool is garbage, Benny. I'm not saying that children are garbage, but children who are just not talented, there aren't players, around. So you're in the middle of nowhere. The teams there suck balls. The player pool there is not great. And so those players, yeah, it's bad. Like, how are you going to get them to play amazing football? You can, don't get me wrong. You can. Okay. But it's probably super frustrating if you don't already know how to do it. And so the natural reaction is like, oh, well, Gary, Benny, I just don't have the players. You should see the players that I have to work with. It's like, there's just no way. You know what I mean? So that's the other extreme. And then there's the middle of the road who unfortunately maybe have been indoctrinated too much and they don't even want to give it a try.
Yeah. No, I have a feeling, Gary, this guy's a licensed U.S. soccer coaching course master.
Oh boy.
Gets all his topics from the U.S. Soccer Learning Center and follows it to a T, and I'm sure he's had some success.
Yeah. No, the other pitfall that I've seen so many coaches fall into is that they invest so much money, Benny, and time into the credentials to get all their licenses, even get their A license, maybe even travel to Europe and get their UEFA license and all that shit. And then they're established in playing a certain way and training a certain way. And by somebody coming around and saying all the stuff that you've been doing is ass and trash, they get super defensive, Benny. Imagine you've spent tens of thousands of dollars and who knows how many years pursuing the credentials and pursuing a certain way of doing stuff. And then somebody comes around or people are coming around saying all that you wasted a shit ton of money and fucking time for fucking nothing.
Right. Obviously, I know the answer to this, Gary, and I know you don't feel this way, but people, like, to play devil's advocate here, so many people have commented on your posts or sent you a message saying that actually, no, Gary, like your style that you're preaching and the way that you want to play is shocking, and you've wasted decades of your life trying to do this, and it's never going to come into fruition. So, what is your response to them?
Benny, I already gave it to you 10 minutes ago. Like, the proof is in the work. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
They just have to do their homework. They just have to do their homework. It's like, hey, look at the work on the YouTube channel. Look at the track record. Look at all the pros that were graduated. And no, we have to draw this distinction. If you were lucky enough to have been gifted a coaching job, say at an MLS academy, okay, even though you didn't earn it, you have done fuck all, but you're gifted that job, you're going to inherit by default, because it's a monopoly, a huge swath of the top players in the area, in the region, in the country. It's just going to fall in your lap. And by the very nature that these MLS franchises are kind of obligated to graduate some players to being homegrown professional players, all these coaches who didn't earn it or know fuck all about soccer, they can all then claim like, oh, well, I had under tutelage, this player who went pro and this player who went pro and this player who went pro. Like they can list out 4 or 5 players who went pro for their MLS franchise, but it has absolutely nothing to do with them. It's just in the academy system of the particular franchise, and they're going to make some of them homegrowns. You made nothing. Contrast that with Brian's work, though. Brian took over the famous team, to say nothing of the other teams, okay, because we'll be here all night. The famous team at age 10, and they weren't in no MLS setup whatsoever. They were just nothing out of a small little club. And 10, 11, 12, 13, all outside of that environment. And MLS had no choice but to then say, hey, Brian, can you bring your teams over here? This is Chivas USA. Can you please bring your teams over here with your players, because the work that you've done is out of this world, and the players are obviously out of this world as a consequence of that too. So that's when Brian entered the MLS system, and that's also why a lot of these players had the privilege of being elevated and turning pro. But the work had already been done prior to that.
Okay, I wish that like guys like these that comment stupid shit like this, I wish that they would come and actually listen to an entire episode. Because it's one thing to see a clip of you talking for 2 minutes on Instagram and form their opinion and give their 2 cents, but they don't spend the time to study and do the research. Like some of the dumbest comments that I see, Gary, and it happens on every one of our posts. It's like, oh, like who has this guy developed, or has this bald guy ever fucking sent a kid pro,
Sure.
And they just have no idea. Right. How easy would it be to just go and Google or go on YouTube and just type in, 343 or Derek Clavin and actually do a little bit of research before chiming in.
Sure.
So
maybe
I don't know how to get people to listen to this, dude.
Say maybe you can start putting in the caption, hey, to listen to the full episode, go to YouTube or go to Apple Podcasts. I don't know.
You can, but I think these same people, aren't going to be bothered,
Yeah.
And that's fine, dude. We don't want them as audience members anyway. So, I love our fans that tune in week by week. And actually, even though it's a lot of the stuff that we say is hard to hear and it can be frustrating for people to hear, like the people that still tune in week after week and, want to learn and get better, like those are the true legends, bro, to me.
Yeah, same
That's
here. No, same here, man. And I'm actually I don't know if honored is the right word, privileged probably, I don't know, that so many of our audience who've been around for many, many years, I know, because it's inevitable. At some point throughout those years, they've been insulted by me. I know it for sure, because, well, let me tell you from first principles also why I know it. I know that 95% of the people who follow us religiously, they think they agree with us, Benny. But if they actually knew, like even deeper than they already know, what it is that I actually think, we don't agree, actually. We actually do not agree. Does that make sense? And so some of that disagreement stuff slips out once in a while in our casual conversations on the podcast or in writing or on X when I write some posts, but they still stick around because I know it must have jabbed them a little bit.
No, Gary, it makes total sense because even for me, when I first started, really working with you, obviously I've known you for, 15 years, but when I really started working with you and the first couple of times that we'd meet up at the bar or whatever, and just chilling and talking over a couple of drinks, some of the stuff that you would say in the back of my mind, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, you're a fucking animal, dude. And then I'm like, dude, is that really the case? Like, no, it can't be. But then over the years, you start opening your eyes and you see like, oh shit, the thing that Gary said 3 or 4 years ago that kind of triggered me a little bit, he was 1,000% right, dude. So it takes time to open your eyes. It really does. But I'm telling you, dude, there was a couple of times I'm like, what the fuck is Gary on right?
I wish you would recall what those were, man.
I don't want you to get canceled.
Okay. That's cool. You've said enough. That's enough for the audience to understand maybe what it could be or what things could be.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something that happened recently. There's an account on X who has been cordial and professional, and nice, and seems authentic and genuine. And I think I brought up the topic of where Pochettino had kind of roasted the fan base here a bit, kind of saying the fan base talks bullshit and they don't know what they're talking about, or the media doesn't know what it's talking about, is speaking bullshit. And I was looking for the press conference, because it was a press conference where he said those things on YouTube, and I think US Soccer pulled it. Like, I can't find it. And so I wrote a post on X, like, hey, where is this at? And nobody could answer me. And this particular gentleman said, oh, like, kind of like, why are you asking? And just so you know, Gary, he said that we should all be positive. When have you ever been positive? You know, he took that sort of angle of when have you ever been positive, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, who's we? That Pochettino said that we should all be positive. Who is we? And after a long, circuitous back and forth, which I don't want to have with anybody because I just get turned off immediately, like, be direct, okay? He lists out, oh, the fans and, you know, the media, everybody like kind of here in the American ecosystem who wants the national team to be like, who's a fan of the national team, who wants the national team to be successful, right? We should all be positive. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm not part of that we. So the fact that you're saying, oh, Gary, he's telling you too that to be positive, and you say that you agree with Pochettino, I'm like, no, motherfucker, he's not talking to me. I'm exactly outside of the bubble that he's addressing. I'm not an American soccer fan. I'm not a USMNT fan. I'm not a USMNT person who hopes that they do well and all that stuff. I'm outside of that bubble that he's addressing. So it's just an illustration, an example, a recent one where people who have followed us for a long period of time and think they agree. Oh yeah, he said, I agree with 95% of what you say, Gary, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. If you actually knew what I thought, you would disagree with 95% of what I say.
Yeah. I would love to, Gary, like even this fucking guy that commented about the Rondo post, right? I would love to have this guy on the podcast with you and
Great.
fucking debate him.
Yeah, invite him on.
You're the Charlie Kirk of soccer, bro.
Invite him on, bro. Invite him on. I'm serious. Just invite him. Hey, Gary says he'd be happy to host you on the podcast, and you know, you can share with him what you think about Rondos and why you think he's an idiot and doesn't know anything, and we can hash it out from there. And I'll be very, Benny, I think you've known me long enough where I'm a very respectful person. I'm a very respectful person. You've seen me engage with your parents. You see me engage with the circle, everybody. I'm a very respectful person. I give a lot of respect. It's when I'm disrespected that then it's like kind of like, okay, I don't care about you anymore. You're done with me. But it's not like this guy or anybody would come on the podcast and I'd be like a dick. No chance. No chance. It would be a very good, diplomatic, professional exchange.
The other sad thing here is I was having a conversation recently with the coach. I'm not going to mention his name because he asked me not to, but this guy's been in the Southern California soccer scene for the past maybe 20 years, you know, at the club level, at the college level, a licensed coach, right? And he's like, hey, Benny, I listened to everything that you and Gary say. I agree with everything. I'm like, yeah, come on the show, dude. Like, you know, we'd love to have you. He's like, I can't because if I come out and say that I agree with you or I'm aligned with Gary's views and US soccer this, US soccer that, the club scene, I'll get fired immediately. But he's like, everything that Gary's saying, he's not wrong. He's right. But he has to shut his mouth and he has to just, you know, lick the boot and operate in the, because it's his livelihood. This guy's got a family, he's got kids, you know. But yeah, dude, I was like, damn, I wish I could have you on the podcast.
Isn't that interesting? That's something that people should really think a lot about because there's a lot there. Why is it that somebody cannot speak freely or engage or say, hey, I agree with these ideas that Gary has? And it extends far beyond soccer, as we all know with current events. You know, we can't speak freely. What is going on here? When can we not speak freely? Well, in soccer in particular, since, you know, we do a soccer podcast here, kind of, it's because a monopoly runs it. That's why. If it was a completely decentralized system, then if your particular club or something doesn't like what you have to say, or oh, you said this thing that's controversial, you're out of, you're fired. Okay, fine. I'll just go to the club next door, and pick up where I left off, sort of thing, and there's no fear of blackballing or being ostracized or that sort of stuff. That all exists because it's monopolized then.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted the audience to know that Gary got his first death threat the other week. Somebody commented, "Hey, Gary, you better rest, or you're gonna meet Pelé soon." Something like that.
The death threats are escalating for real.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a whole other rabbit hole we don't have to go down. All right, let me ask you, or tell you two more of the comments on the Rondo video. Why do Rondos with a group of kids who can't even pass the ball properly, let alone receive it? I know we talked about this before many times, but I feel that it needs to be addressed because obviously people are still having this delusion that Rondos is not going to help this.
The answer is, in order to get them to be able to pass properly and receive the ball properly. That's the solution to the problem you just told me.
Yep.
So obvious.
I think it was, Cruyff. Cruyff is the one that said like everything except for shooting in soccer, all the match moments, all the receiving, first touch, weight of your passing, it can be achieved in Rondos, And how do these people expect for their kids to ever learn how to pass or learn how to receive a ball in tight spaces? It's not standing in two lines and passing the ball back and forth, So I don't know where these people get it from. Another guy says, U6 to U12, they should just be doing 1v1, 2v2, learning the proper technique and just play. Learn how to dribble. Passing will come later.
I don't know what to tell you, Benny. I mean, we've talked about this, and I think it's worth emphasizing. It's all based on objectives. What is the ultimate objective that one wants to accomplish? A player in particular. Do you want to go pro? Do you want to, be able to reach the next possible level of pro? Maybe it's college. Do you want to be on the high school varsity team? Do you want to be able to get on an MLS Next or ECNL team? Do you want to get more playing time, because maybe you're on the bench all the time? Do you want to elevate yourself from the bottom of the roster to the middle of the roster to the top of the roster? It all comes down to what is your ultimate objective. So when this guy says from U6 to U12, what did he say again? Something about dribbling, and what was the other thing?
Learn the proper technique and just play, learn how to dribble.
Okay.
And passing will come later.
So first off, learning proper technique. What are we even talking about technique? So you have to receive, and then you have to dish the ball, and then you have to dribble. Those are the three sort of on-ball techniques: receive, distribute, or dribble. It's those three things. There's nothing else. Okay. So receiving and distributing, hello, Rondos, to develop the proper technique. Dribbling, absolutely incorporate dribbling. Have at it. Go crazy. Incorporate dribbling in your sessions. There's no problem at all with that. But I'll tell you this much, that you're not going to develop a really good dribbler by having 2 sessions a week, team sessions a week, and a match on the weekends. That ain't going to happen. You know where they develop good dribbling skills? On their own. So all these good dribblers that this guy's probably thinking about, oh, look, all the great players in the world are great dribblers. Hey, that did not get developed in team training. That got developed in the playgrounds. And on top of that, we've always advocated for the very youngest of ages, say U6 to U10 or U6 to U11. I've said many a times, for the vast majority, just nurture the love affair with the game. Have them play, have them play freely. You want to throw in a rondo here, maybe like a 4v0, like you said, or a circle keep away. That's fine. But if you don't do that, that's also fine. Have them have a good time. That's what it is, U6 to U10. That's no problem.
Let's get into a comment from YouTube. And this guy's actually giving a genuine comment, asking a question to you. She says, I've really appreciated your honesty and content. How does one go about finding a great coach and staff in America that would foster and enforce a pro mindset, training, soccer IQ, and player development? I mean, he says he's a father of a 4-year-old, and basically just goes off to list all the things that he's doing. But how do you find the right environment, Gary? How do you find the right practitioners? How do you know that you're in a good environment? All these things I'm sure this guy's curious about, and the audience.
Yeah. Good news is his kid's 4 years old. So you got plenty of time. You got a nice head start on your education. So by the time it actually matters, which probably starts around age 10 from a team training perspective, you got 6 years of education on your belt. You're equipped. That aside, look, I've said this many a times. I think that two key principles are finding a coach who is possession based, number one. And then number two, that also is a winning coach and cares about winning. So both things at the same time. It's a rare combination, Benny, to find that. So, and it's a difficult combination to actually execute. So when you find that, it's not a guarantee, but it's a signal. It's a decent signal that maybe something good is happening here. And then once you kind of see that signal, I would go to their training sessions, even though your kid is not there. You just go and find out where the team trains, find out what times this coach trains, go to the sessions and take a look at what's going on there. Then I would look, what do you gather from that? You gather the coach's personality, perhaps. Right? What is the coach's personality like? It's a difficult thing to assess because you might catch him on a training session or two or three where he is not illustrating the things that I would like to see. And what I would like to see is a training session that is running at kind of maximum intensity, where you can tell that every player is working at 100% of their potential all the time. That's also a very rare thing to find. And even more rare thing to find, which is related, is that while it might seem that the coach is a drill sergeant or is constantly on them for intensity, and the players are responsive to him, that the coach actually cares and is loving and is warm and that the players know that the coach really loves them and cares for them. Okay. Super rare to find all that stuff. Possession-based, winning, and what I just finished describing of the training sessions. Maximum intensity and a love affair between the players and the coach. So those are the three main ingredients that I would look for, Ben.
What if one of them is missing, Gary? Let's say he's playing possession soccer. He's a loving coach. He cares about the kids. The team's not winning. The team is mid-table or could be last place even.
Well, I just painted you the dream scenario. Yeah. So it's like a 3-star system. Okay. So hopefully you at least have one of those stars. If you have 0 of those stars, Benny, there's an issue. 0 stars, there's an issue for sure. If you're not winning, there's a whole bunch of explanations for that. One such, and I don't know if we want to exhaust them, but one such explanation is the coach just got the team maybe a year or 2 ago, maybe even 3 years ago, and it takes time for the wins to come. Okay, because maybe you inherited a team or started a team where you don't have key pieces for you to get victory. And at youth soccer, Benny, there's like 3 key positions that you really need to be successful. Number 1 is a goal scorer, a striker, somebody who's going to punch it in, the proverbial man child. Okay. You need somebody with talent and capability, big, fast, strong to actually punch it in. That'll get you the wins. So you kind of need at least something in that category. If you don't have that, you're already so screwed, Ben. You can't score goals. The other thing that is, I think, important is a goalkeeper, a decent one, because as you probably know, Benny, if you have a goalkeeper that's like shocking, then any shot goes in, you're so screwed. You're not going to win games. And then the third key piece is like a solid center back, I would say, right? That just puts out fires and just like is a wall. So if you have those 3, I would prefer the 4th key, the whole spinal column, right? I would prefer also a central midfielder who is legit. Then you have the whole spinal column and then you're solid. But if you don't have, 2 of those 4 or 3 of those 4, you're kind of in trouble on the win-loss column, Benny. So it might take you a whole season to have some player churn and recruit some players to fix your problems.
Right. how long do you think it takes for a parent to assess the situation, Gary? Is it after 1 or 2 trainings? Is it after a week with the team, a month with the team? Because I feel like a lot of coaches maybe sell this idea of like, yeah, we play possession and, yes, we do rondos every time and these are my sessions and your son is going to be the next Iniesta, come with us or winning team. They paint this whole perfect picture of what the parents want to hear. And then a month or two goes by and it's just not even close to anything what the coach was saying, So how long do you think should the parents go for like a month, 2 months, or what do you think?
So let's keep it in the context of this guy's question, right? So this guy's going out there and scouting the landscape to try to find a coach. Yeah, I think that's what you're asking, right?
No, I'm just saying, like when the guy does take his kid to the team, does he know after 1 session? Does he know after 2 sessions? Does he have to play games with the team?
No, well, the other piece of before he even takes his kid to the team, he should go watch the team play. And right there, you get a sample size, watch it 2 or 3 times. And if the team is consistently connecting passes and building out of the back and things of that nature, then you're probably okay. All right. That is a possession-based team. You don't go off of the words of the coach, and you don't go off of going to the training session and seeing them do rondos or building out of the back stuff. That doesn't prove anything. Yeah, you got to prove your possession base in an actual match.
No, I agree. I don't want this guy to get the wrong idea because his son's 4 years old, so he's not going to find a team right now that's fucking playing possession. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's why I started off by saying you have a lot of time. So when it actually matters, when we're talking U11, U12, you got a 6-year runway before these questions actually take effect.
Yeah. No, but Gary, it's super important to know at that age, 4 years old, 5 years old, the biggest of the 3 to check is the quality of the coach. Meaning, like, is this guy gonna spark the love of the game? Is he gonna care about the kid? Is he gonna help him learn to love the game? I think at that age, that's more important than anything.
I can see it already with the comments because this is a toxic comment episode. What the fuck, Gary, giving advice to a parent who has a 4-year-old kid? Like, no, I'm not giving advice to about a 4-year-old kid. I literally said 6-year runway, and it matters 6 years from now.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, I think people understand that, Gary. But yeah, there's going to be somebody. Valencia FC is going to comment. What's wrong with Gary, D? Next thing you know.
Okay, hey, here's something that'll trigger Valencia FC or whatever the fuck. At 4 years old, you should put your kid in a 2v2 battle cage and have them kicking the shit out of each other.
Baby football, bro.
Baby football from Uruguay. People, look it up.
All right, let me throw out one more comment too, and this one comes from your most recent episode with Jorge. This guy says, without doing any research. Great way to start a comment. Without doing any research, I'd say 1/3 of the players in MLS are Hispanic, and likely more if you include the ones that identify as white. Why not look at other ethnic groups in America? There's a growing Asian population that plays the game. There's an untapped market of Black Americans that are starting to play the game. Get ready for this one, Gary. To me, this seems like sour grapes. Both of you guys, especially you, Gary, have access to white supremacy. Why complain when it isn't working in your favor now? If you were all genuine about it, tearing down systemic barriers, there are more effective ways to do it. I'll be patiently waiting for the episodes about the other non-white ethnic groups. And I think where this comes from this guy is because obviously you guys are talking about, right, Santa Ana, the Latino community, there's ballers in there. So I don't know where this guy is getting this, that you have access to white supremacy and that you're complaining that it's not working in your favor now. But
I just honestly don't know how some folks navigate the world. No, I'm being honest. And look, I want what's best for everybody. I really do. Sometimes it just makes me sad because I see something like this and it's like your brain is broken. Your brain just doesn't function. I don't know how you want me to respond to this. So I've just opened up the comment now because you said it was a YouTube comment, so I opened it up. Yeah, without doing any research, he says. First off, stop. Okay, go do your research. Yeah, the rest of it is fucking horseshit. Let's pick it apart. I'd say a third of the players in MLS are Hispanic. Okay, let's assume that we're true. What was our episode about? It was about Americans with a Hispanic heritage and culture. Most of the players, or many of the players that you think comprise a third of MLS rosters or something that are Hispanic, they're not even from here. They're from Argentina, they're from Uruguay, they're from Colombia, they're from Bolivia, they're from Brazil, they're from Mexico, they're from Central America. So add up all those, you have to exclude all those players, because Oscar and I were discussing the players that are American here in the United States already, not imported. Those are the ones who are being overlooked. So if you exclude all the foreigners, how many are left now? Is it maybe 1 out of 10? Might be. I don't, less, probably less than 10%. And even if some of the Hispanic, Latino, Mexican Americans make it to an MLS roster via the homegrown mechanism, which is obviously what it probably would be, how many of them are given opportunities on the field? Even a smaller percentage. How many of them are given so many opportunities on the field that actually they're able to build traction in the league and they have staying power in the league, meaning they're in the league for a career's worth, or at least 5 or 7 or 10 years worth of their career. Now you've reduced the percentage even lower still. So by the time it's all said and done, Benny or this gentleman, it's exactly what Oscar and I were talking about in the episode. This community, this demographic is basically non-existent, especially when compared to their population size here. They are the number one demographic by numbers by far in the United States that play soccer. And they have a soccer first household, soccer first heritage. So they should be the majority of players in MLS. Almost all of the players in MLS should be from that demographic. Almost all of them. And what do we have instead? Barely any survive and are even represented there. So this guy wants me to go on to the other demos. Well, the other demos, whoever he's listing out here, whether it be Asian or blacks or you name it, they aren't huge in numbers here in the country. We have like fucking tens of millions of Mexican Americans alone who are soccer crazed in our country. Tens of millions. Do we have that many who are soccer crazed in the Asian community who are playing soccer and who are trying to be pro in soccer? Because I'll tell you what, all the Mexican Americans are trying to be pro. They're going hardcore in soccer. How many of the Asians are doing that? How many of the black community are doing that? Almost none. So that is not the issue here. What other stupid ass shit does he say here? What, I don't even understand the white supremacy thing. To me, that seems like sour grapes. Both of you guys, especially you, Gary, have access to what? So I have access to white supremacy. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean I have access to white supremacy? What does that do for me? Even if I were to pretend, right? Like what, how does that matter? Wait, I want to read his comment here. There is a growing Asian population that plays the game. Okay, that's fine. There is an untapped market of Black Americans that are starting to play the game. Okay, so barely any, right? You're admitting to starting to play the game, so barely any. To me, this seems like sour grapes. Both of you guys, especially you, Gary, have access to white supremacy. Why complain when it isn't working in your favor now? What is working? What has been working in my favor is my question. Nothing has ever been working in my favor. People's brains are broken, Benny. That's why I asked the question, how do some folks even navigate the world? I'll tell you this much. I doubt this guy is a CEO of a company, or I doubt he's an entrepreneur killing it, in the game. I doubt he is a successful executive or upper management sort of person making great 6-figure salary. There's no way that somebody with a brain this broken can be successful. You have to fix it. Whoever this is, what's his name? Obviously he's anonymous. I can't even pronounce it. Bro, Fix your brain. That's priority one, so that you can be successful in life. And you're commenting this shit on YouTube. What are you doing with your life?
Oh man, I saved the best for the end, dude. I can do that one when to get you going, dude. I don't know what planet some people are living on.
Maybe he got mad that it was a white guy, right? Even though my heritage is from Argentina, y hablo español perfectamente, okay? And a Mexican were on this podcast, and no black person was on the podcast or Asian person was. I don't even know.
Dude, he hasn't seen your episodes of Kev, bro. Kev keeps it
True.
real.
I've never had somebody who's Asian though. Hey Ben, honest question, because I love the Asian people. You know, my girlfriend is Asian. They're my people. How many Asians have you seen playing soccer here in Southern California, or generally speaking in the United States? There's Asians playing soccer, but what do the ratios look like? You know,
I would say maybe 1 in 10, Gary. Unless you go to Irvine, and then it's maybe 8 out of 10 on a team at some of the clubs out there.
No chance. Irvine Strikers doesn't have 8. Irvine Strikers is not 8 out of 10 Asian.
No, not Irvine Strikers, but some of the lower, lesser known clubs, Gary. These Asian communities do the same exact thing, and they all like join the same team. Also, like there's some like Armenian teams that do it. I've seen like a team of Indian players. So they all have their like small, tight knit groups, bro. Maybe I'll put my son on one of their teams.
Yeah, but Benny, it's an interesting thought exercise. It's few and far between.
Yeah.
You don't see a whole team of, kids with an Asian heritage on a team.
Yeah.
But you do see a whole team of Mexicans. You see them everywhere. They're everywhere, Ben.